Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Bare naked, bare naked, bare naked, ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs. And interestingly enough, this is our 250th episode.
What?
Yeah, can you believe we made it that far,
that's
Heidi?
Crazy. Hey, guess what my town is having this year? It's our 250th celebration year for Hillsborough. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
So we've had events every month. So 250. Yay! Go for 250.
That means we've been doing this show for almost 5 years now.
Oh, my Lanta.
And to celebrate this momentous occasion, we are going to discuss a song that I think most people
Nobody knows.
don't even realize that was written by BNL, and most Americans, and maybe even people anywhere else in the world except from Canada. So joining me tonight are my co-host, Heidi.
Hi, everybody.
Well, that list was as short as this song. So we have a guest joining us this week. Our guest has a film and TV production background, as well as a corporate event planning and casino work background. He is the co-host of Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast.
Oh my gosh, Tom, we could talk for days. I'll explain why when Tracy gets done with the intro.
When you may know him as DJ Tommy 3000 on TikTok, and he is a longtime fan of awesome Canadian bands. You can often find him providing indispensable
Wait, there's more than
information.
Yeah. There's a few.
Nice one. Very nice. You can also find him providing indispensable information on Bare Naked Ladies Fan Club on Facebook. Welcome, Tom Caldwell.
Hey, Tom.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and I love social media. This stuff is so great for connecting with people and finding fandoms that you can insert yourself into other shows and podcasts and just celebrating good music. This is awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're very glad to have you.
Wait a minute. Oh my gosh, you just said thank you for having me. So guess what? Pass the cranberry sauce. We're having mashed potatoes. Gee, the turkey looks great. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being there. No, it's not time for that song.
I do love some cranberry sauce. Don't get me wrong.
I love Linda Belcher.
No,
I do. She's my spirit cartoon and a person.
So, Tom, tell us about your journey with BNL.
Basically, growing up in Canada, you can't avoid being exposed to Bare Naked Ladies. Like they've been playing for how many years now?
Hold on, wait a minute, Tom. You can't go anywhere without being exposed to Bare Naked Ladies. Boy, I didn't realize. I mean, Montreal, yeah, but
well, it's cold in the winter, but it's hot in the summer. So I sent earlier. There's an article, a wonderful concert from the Bare Naked Ladies in the city of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, in 1993. And I saw them in the auditorium, and this was the full band. And just to give you a sense of the era, people were throwing macaroni on stage.
Oh my gosh.
So this is old school.
Those in the know don't throw. Duh.
Right? And nowadays that's like, no, you can't do that. But
I mean, that's Andy days.
Yeah, like this is a while back, right? And more recently, about 5 years ago, in my job at Casino Regina, where I live, they played, and I got to be security in the room during the show, which was awesome. And they did an amazing show. They did like an acoustic opening for 5 songs, and then they drop the big backdrop and they go full instrumental, right? With guitar, like the full electric show. And they did whole lot of Love by Zeppelin as an encore. It was just amazing. And then this summer, I didn't go to see them, but they played a thing called Besbro Gardens in Saskatoon, which is a beautiful antique railway hotel on the riverbank with a huge gardens out back. My brother and his wife live across the river. They sat in their backyard and listened to the show and could hear it perfectly. I didn't go though, because 4 days later I was at a different rock concert at that same venue. So it was kind of a conflict, but no, they're always playing, they're playing my casino again in a couple of weeks here in Regina, the Christmas special show.
Oh, you get to see them at the Christmas special.
Well, I didn't. Again, they sold out. That one went like immediately. It's only a 1,000-seat theater, but yeah, they're so popular and they're such a fun band. They're such a good time to see.
Yeah, they just had to cancel there was just a canceled concert just loaded up tonight because of the storms that went through. It flooded the parking lot, and so they have to cancel it. And like, I can only imagine that ruins some people's Christmas right there.
Well, yeah, that would be out like Buffalo area. Yeah, that snowstorm was insane.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, no, they were talking 6 feet of snow or whatever, like 6
Buffalo's
feet,
always brutal.
like deep.
But I mean, I have former relatives that lived in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and Niagara Falls, New York, and Chippewa Falls, which is where, anyway, old family members. And Buffalo would get that lake effect snow, and we would just be stranded. It's brutal there. Yeah.
No, hopefully everybody has big cans of gasoline for their snowblowers at their house, but
I think they're just gonna wait for it to melt off. They're in for the winter at this point.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the risk of being a traveling band in North America in the winter. You gotta take the risk once in a while. But I feel bad, like you said, though, for the people that bought the tickets and bought the hotel rooms.
And I just got an email the other day that the Canadian Pacific Railroad is actually coming through. The lighted train is coming through Maine for the first time ever.
Oh, yeah.
But BNL's not on it. And I'm like, well, why am I traveling so far to go see them if BNL's not playing it?
Yeah, that would be a highlight. I've seen that come through Regina before, too. That's a good time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful train.
Yeah. One of the, since I'm talking about the city of Regina, okay, you've heard of a little show called Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Well known for having a Bare Naked Ladies theme song. The opening montage is a very fast, whatever, 30, 40 black and white or color images, historic images. There's a Regina image in that mix.
Oh, really?
Right? So it is, if you ever look it up, it's called the Leader Building. It's the newspaper building, because our newspaper is called the Leader Post. So there's a connection between Regina and the Bare Naked Ladies theme on Big Bang Theory. There you go.
Wow.
Digging deep for all the trivia tonight.
That's some good trivia right there, because I do like me some Big Bang Theory.
Oh, it's a good show, yeah. And very similar theme songs when you think about it. I don't want to get ahead of you too much here, but 30 seconds, instrumental, somewhat like with some quick vocals, like very peppy,
mm-hmm.
and very memorable, and true to the Bare Naked Ladies, just fun and upbeat, right?
That's right. So yeah, you let us into it before I could, which is great. Because tonight we're discussing, I would dare say, Bare Naked Ladies' first theme song that they ever did for a TV show, which is Sonata para Bombachas, which in English stands for Sonnets for Bombs.
Right.
Written for the Royal Canadian Air Farce. Want to make sure I said that right. That was hard to get out. And if you've never heard this song before, here's a quick. You know what? No, fuck it. Here's the entire thing.
Getting so saucy.
Early on, get some early on. Nope, that's not it.
Saucy.
All right, that's the entire thing of it.
And that is the opening to the Air Farce television comedy series on CBC television.
You're leading right into the thing I wanted to talk about. Like, so yes, this is the beginning of the television series, but before that, there was the radio series. Like this TV series, this group has a storied tradition. Tom, do you want to talk? I wrote some notes down, but you probably know it better than I do. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. As a Canadian in the 1980s, listening to CBC radio, you got a treat. Every week there would be a half-hour radio episode of the Royal Canadian Air Farce, EC Farce Canada. And it was a very, very funny, traditional radio theater comedy show, right? Where it wasn't produced in the studio. Like, it was on stage in front of a live audience. The actors would come up to the microphones. There would be a sound effects guy on stage. It was kind of like Spike Jones or Stan Freberg, like the old American radio drama style, right? And it was a highlight for me every Saturday to listen to this on the radio. And my whole family got into it. My dad really enjoyed the show. And it was like a must-hear radio, you know, instead of must-see TV. It was a very popular radio show that everybody I knew that had any class or taste or sense of humor enjoyed this show.
And that started in 1973. I cannot believe that.
Wow. That's a long time back.
Yeah. So this show went on for 35 years, either on radio or TV.
Good for them.
That is just amazing. And so when I think of that, like, this is probably, if I'm thinking correctly, I didn't do my research before I made this statement, but I believe that would be prior to Monty Python, or about the same time as Monty Python was on TV. And there weren't a lot of other like comedy skit TV shows at that time, other than you would, like, on the radio, you would have them on TV, like you would have Carol Burnett and stuff like that, but you didn't have a lot of radio shows like that.
Exactly. There was another well-known Canadian one that called Dr. Bundolo's Pandemonium Medicine Show, which would air kind of like after Air Farce. And I don't know that there's the total history of that show, but yeah, it was a unique thing that you could listen to modern day, like current affairs, political satire, you know, cultural satire about politicians and music and everything that was going on in Canada. But it was current. It was, you know, happening that week kind of thing.
Yeah. So like you were saying, like, so this was the basic idea of this radio broadcast, and then later on TV broadcast, was that it was political and cultural satire for Canada.
Right.
Now I gotta say, in watching a lot of the clips this week, I think most of the jokes went over my head, even though I'm from Maine, which is Canadian adjacent. And right there on the border. Like, we grew up watching Red Green in my household. Like, that was on all in Doctor Who and all that stuff well, Doctor Who's British, but we would get all this stuff from Canada and Britain and all this on our public television. And so I got a good dose of all this stuff, but never saw this show somehow. Like, I don't know how that never transferred down from Canada.
Well, and yeah, it's political satire. So if you were Canadian, you would have got the jokes because it was kind of like Saturday Night Live always has somebody playing the president. On Air Farce, they always had a character playing the prime minister, right? Mm-hmm. And there would be jokes about a bill that was hitting Senate, or a controversy in Ottawa, or a controversy with the prime minister. There would be jokes about culture. They really got it. Later on, they really got into the whole Mike from Canmore, the coffee shop, Tim Hortons cliches, and all that stuff. And a lot of the humor was Canadian. Like, you would have to know what they were talking about, but it was we loved it. Like, it was funny stuff. And again, as a teenager, for me, it was theater of the mind. It was like, you could picture what they were doing, what they were talking about, and it was a real blast, a real fun trip to listen to.
Oh yeah, I was watching some of these this week and laughing hysterically at, like, the Neil Young for Royal Bank and Stodgy Pocks.
My life completely changed when I discovered Stodge Pocks. The first thing you reach for when anyone says stick it. Stodge Pocks, named after its inventor, Dr. Stodge, and the disease that killed him. Chicken pox. I discovered it through a friend. He said he and his wife had made a coffee table together using Stodge Pocks and were now inseparable. For years, we as a family had suffered from the undue attention of a hyperactive budgie. A single schlup on his perch, and never again did Pretty Petey fly over the dining room table and avail himself of the cheese whiz. In fact, never again did he fly. He just stood there and cursed. I did not want the kids to hear such foul language before encountering it in kindergarten, so I wondered how Stodge Pocks could solve the situation. I was about to squirt some Stodge Pocks in the kids' ears when I got a better idea. Just a sh on the end of a long piece of cuttle bone, and in seconds we had a mute budgie with a 13-inch beak. And large staring eyes. He was a perfect match for Grandma after we used Stodge Pocks to fix her dental plate. Mildred had been on to me for a long time to spruce up the garden, so I took the aging spaniel belonging to our neighbors, and today he is an attractive garden ornament. Our favorite evening's entertainment is watching the neighbors try and call him in. I suppose they'd come out and get him if they could get their doors open. What are the problems with Stodge Pocks, you ask? Well, keep it out of the hands of children. Until recently, I was forced to work at home as a telemarketer, confined to one room after little Ernie spread Stodge Pocks on the seat on which I'd sat. I'm not complaining. I did get to see a lot of the family, especially when they came in to take a shower. I was finally freed with the assistance of a blowtorch, 4 pounds of butter, a dental drill, and an over-friendly fireman with the jaws of life. When the seat finally came off, he proudly handed it to my family. They should not have touched it. Say what you like. If you want the family to stick together, nothing beats Stodge Pocks.
There were some, even though I'm an American in, like you like I imagine that the like SNL and stuff like that came later, I would imagine that doesn't carry over well to the rest of the world that don't know American politics as well. The same way, like a lot of the Canadian stuff did not carry over, but we all know who Cartien is, and watching some of those still carried over and made sense.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fun for sure. And the fact that, like you said, that they ran for 3 or 4 decades, like with some version of radio or TV, wasn't what a history, what a legacy for the TV show and the radio show.
Yeah, and so they tried to do the TV show. They tried to switch from radio to TV in the 80s, with a bunch of TV specials. But what they did was they just recorded video of them on stage doing the radio program. And so it was just them standing there doing the radio stuff, and it didn't transfer well over to TV.
Right.
Like people would rather use their imagination than see people standing up there doing nothing while speaking into a microphone. So that didn't carry over, and it wasn't until 1992 that they figured out, okay, wait, we need to act this stuff out. We should do that, and then it caught.
Oh, for sure.
What really astounds me, and I don't understand what the reason was, is I want to say it's like for 4 years, I think it was all the way until 97, that they continued doing both the radio broadcast and the TV show throughout all that time, from 92 to 97. And that is an astounding amount of work in my mind. Like, to be doing weekly audio and weekly TV shows, just wow.
And again, they're it's their full-time job. They've got cast and crew and writers and that too. So yeah, it still would be a lot of work for sure.
Because it's the same. The cast is exactly the same. So the original the cast was Roger Abbott, Don Ferguson, Luba Goy, John Morgan, and David Broadfoot and David Broadfoot actually retired before the TV show even came out. So then it was just down to 4, and they were just trying to carry on and do it, and doing it amazingly.
And again, like if you go into the history, the more recent TV shows, they'll bring on different actors and different cast members, but the people you mentioned are the core list of performers. I was lucky in 2008 in Regina. They had the Canadian Comedy Awards, and I volunteered on the production crew. So I was at the Connexus Arts Center at the big theater for a gala comedy show. The Air Farce were there, right? And so I'm backstage, and I'm like helping usher performers to go onto the stage, and I got to meet them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is such a big deal. So anyway, I think it was Roger Abbott or Don Ferguson were kind of talking to each other, and they're like, yeah, this is great, but I've always hated the PR part of the job, and having to go to dinners and golf tournaments and having to sign autographs for people and having to be all friendly. And they're kind of complaining like amongst themselves, right? So, and I didn't, whatever, I had already planned this. It was my dad's 70th birthday coming up. I'm like, hey guys, can I get your autographs? So like a minute after they're complaining about fans and autographs, I'm like, can I get your autographs? So I managed to get all the original cast autographs on one sheet of paper. I was pretty excited about that. But yeah, no, they are Canadian comedy legends, and that's
the year they went off the air. Like, that's right near their last episode,
right? And sadly, I think most of the cast has passed away since then too.
Yeah, so, they have. Yeah. Three of the 5 have passed away.
Yeah. And just a shout out to Dave Broadfoot, Big Bobby Clobber. This guy, he played like a dumb hockey player guy, and he'd play Sergeant Renfrew of the RCMP. And this stuff is so funny. If you have a chance to go back and listen to it, he would always have these adventures as an RCMP that halfway through the skit, there'd be a break and he'd go, "When I regained consciousness," because he always got knocked out, right? And like, I'm in the hospital and they're telling me, it's just funny stuff. And again, as kids, these were the jokes we made to each other. You know what I mean? Like, these were the running gags. These were the popular jokes that everybody made. So it was a very popular, very funny radio show.
Now, do you think, Tom, honestly, that things like The Kids in the Hall or SCTV took some points from the show?
Possibly. And I think I appreciate you mentioning Kids in the Hall and SCTV. Like, I'm very proud as a Canadian to say that we had such amazingly productive skit comedy factories like SCTV and Kids in the Hall. And if anything, the fact that Air Farce was corporate, it was CBC funded, it proved that there was support in the arts world for this kind of skit comedy, right? Like, it proved that the Canadian artistic endeavors supported this type of work. And were we an incubator? I'm not sure how it worked, but I'm not sure though if there would be a crossover content though.
I was exposed to things like SCTV early because in the I was born in 1974, so in the early mid 80s when Nickelodeon was first coming out, a lot of the shows were Canadian based shows. So like You Can't Do That on Television was one of my favorite all-time shows. And so they had some of those weird, very interesting humor that I had never seen before. And also I think it was like midnight, Nickelodeon would switch over and they would pull from, they called it Turkey TV time, and they would pull from SCTV and they would pull from like The Kids in the Hall. I'm squishing your head. They would pull from all of those things because they had no content. So it's really interesting the amount of things that we got to see as kids in the early mid 80s that really influenced my humor, like as far as who I like to what I think is funny. And I thought those shows were just brilliant. So,
it's great to hear as a Canadian that Americans were getting to see our television, because we grew up watching American television all the time because you were the dominant cultural megaforce. Like, I watched Detroit.
I'm going to start a TV show called Dominant Cultural Megaforce.
We had Detroit television, like Detroit cable TV, right? So everything that we watched was like not from here. So knowing that Americans were enjoying the Canadian stuff is very, very good to hear.
Well, I think it was just because Nickelodeon didn't have content. So they had to go to the Canadians. It's kind of like MTV. The reason why it became such a juggernaut for British artists was because they were the only ones putting content out. So
right.
Yeah, and you're right, Heidi. We need to create a TV show called Dominant Cultural Megaforce, or a movie
it'll be great.
Cartoon characters.
Where like the main people of Hollywood decide that people in Canada are getting too big for their britches with their TV shows, and they go to Canada to try to take down the
Canadian Bacon,
Hollywood.
which is still one of the most underrated but really funny movies of all time.
Exactly. It's like Canadian
Tom, are you
Bacon of
familiar
Hollywood.
with Canadian Bacon?
Yeah.
We must take down Vancouver.
We go to war.
No, that's funny. And again, like all the Saturday Night Live characters were all, how many major American comedians are from Canada?
Right? I know, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at the list that was on Second City, and all of those people became, well, not all of them, but a major amount of them became huge stars. And then you look how many of them also went on to work with Lorne Michaels, or you look at how many of those people went on and went to run Second City and as the club in Detroit. And like, Canadians are funny.
They are funny.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to be quoting Strange Brew all night. I'm going to be quoting Canadian Bake. Like, I'm just going to be all my favorite Canadian movie hits.
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Well, speaking of funny Canadians, why don't I share this wonderful clip with us from Air Farce in the CBC radio program from 1982.
Vince, believe me, this blind date I've set you up with will take your mind off your problems, but good.
Listen, Frank, the last thing I need is a blind date. She could turn out to be a bill collector. What I need is a bank loan.
Vince, this girl will knock you out.
Who have you fixed me up with, a woman or Sugar Ray Leonard?
Trust me, Vince, you'll like her. She's excited about meeting you.
Oh, look, here she comes now. I don't want to look. Just tell me if she's wearing a leash.
Oh, what a figure.
Where? Over there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, she's nice. In fact, she's beautiful. Gee, I apologize, Frank. She's the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen.
Sharon, over here. Sharon, I'd like you to meet my friend Vince.
Sharon, you're a very attractive woman.
Oh, thank you very much, Vince.
Pardon me?
I said thank you very much.
Sharon, would you excuse Frank and me for a minute? Frank, she sounds like a duck.
Didn't I mention that?
No. No, I've heard of people with frogs in their throats, but this is ridiculous.
Vince, just be nice to her. Maybe later you can take her back to your apartment and nest your brains out.
Very funny. Sharon, will you like a drink? What would you like? Let me guess. Grasshopper.
Hey, I knew you two'd hit it off.
So, Sharon, do you live around here, or are you just spending the summer?
No, Vince, I live in a high-rise apartment.
Do you have a room, or do you live on the roof?
What?
Never mind. What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a speech therapist.
Speech therapist? Who do you teach?
Ducks.
Excuse us, Sharon. Frank, this is crazy. I swear, if she asks me back to her place, I'm going to pass out or something.
Vince, do you want to go back to my place?
What did she say?
I'll get the smelling salts, Vince. Hello, it's Frank here, and several months have passed since that scene in the bar. Although it seemed like an impossible situation, Vince actually grew to like Sharon. After a week, they started dating regularly. After 2 weeks, Vince took the gag out of Sharon's mouth. Eventually, they were married in a wonderful ceremony, marred only by the priest's misinterpretation of Sharon's I do for, hey, Reverend, you want to get lucky? The marriage is a happy one. They spend all their time together. They even work together. And if you ever want to see this lovely couple together, just drive out to the airport and wait in the main terminal. Before long, you'll hear both Vince and Sharon hard at work.
Your attention, please. Flight number... Now leaving,
Oh, that's hilarious.
And you can feel the energy in the room, right?
Yeah.
Like the live production, live audience.
Like if they had done that just in a studio by themselves, it would have been funny, but it wouldn't have carried half as well as being in front of that audience.
And I love that old school 40s and 50s style, theater of the air, drama, live theater, radio style.
Yeah, they knew how to carry that and to make it work.
Right. No, and you'll never get that anywhere today. Like nobody's doing that anymore.
No. I mean, granted, I will say podcasts are moving. There are some podcasts now that have some of those elements to them. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. And some of them are very much like storytelling, but you don't get the sketch comedy like this. I haven't found one yet. Now, I wonder if there is one out there somewhere. But I keep thinking too, there's a similarity to NPR, like Wait, Don't Tell Me, like the live audience, not in terms of sketch comedy, but in terms of the live audience and the response and there's a fun atmosphere to the live radio studio audience features.
Mm-hmm. And again, like back then, your options for entertainment were radio, TV, like 5 channels of television. Did people have cassette players? You know what I mean? Like we were very limited for audio entertainment. Now you can do a million things a day and do whatever you want, streaming, the internet, like everything. So it's so scattered now. But back then, it was destination radio, destination TV. Like you had to be there at 11 a.m. to listen.
Right. If you didn't, you could not watch it. It wasn't until my late childhood that the VCRs were a thing that you could have in the home, really, where you could record something and come back to it and watch it again, or even like if you missed it, be able to catch that, especially if you were lucky enough to have a VCR that recorded on a timer. Like, wow. Like now you didn't have to wait forever if you missed it.
Right.
We weren't those rich kids with those fancy kind of things. So
no,
it was about the radio and setting your cassette tape so you could make a mixtape or listen to the top 40 and record the top 40 so that you could hear the whole thing.
Right. Exactly.
I do want to share one of the skits that I understood and thought was hilarious this week while I was watching it. I also will add into our liner notes a number of other ones, but this is one of those ones that I loved. And it includes a friend that I wish was a friend of the podcast. Would love to have him come on sometime. Sean, we know you listen. Come on. But is Sean Cullen, and he was guesting on the show that night, and here is a skit that I thought was wonderful.
Oh, hi friends. As you may know, this past summer saw a petition calling on the federal government to change the words of our national anthem. According to the respected feminist group Famous Five Foundation, the phrase "in all thy son's command" is no longer acceptable, and no doubt was written by typically retro right-wing backward scum-sucking male pigs. I'm sure they meant that in the nicest way. Our anthem mentions sons, but it excludes another very important segment of our society, daughters. Not to mention that cross-dressing uncle nobody likes to talk about. A more acceptable phrase would be, "in all thy gender non-specific spousal offspring's command." Of course, the word command is very authoritarian and pushy, which is un-Canadian. We should replace it with suggestion. Now, friends, I realize this can all be a bit confusing, huh? So here to help us better understand and sing the politically correct anthem is my friend and buddy, Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne.
Oh, Canada, our living quarters and Aboriginal persons, including Inuit, Métis, all First Nations land.
Isn't that beautiful?
True patriot love, implying affection but not in a sexual way. In all thy gender non-specific spousal offspring suggestion.
Makes me proud to be Canadian.
With glowing hearts we see thee rise.
Dwayne, see thee rise? That kind of sounds like obvious Viagra implications. Suggesting thee is undoubtedly an amorous man-like person.
With glowing hearts we get horny, the true north strong and free.
No problem there.
From far and wide
I think that is an obvious reference to persons of poundage.
From far and weight challenged, oh Canada, we stand or sit on guard for thee. Non-denominational, gender unspecified, supreme being, keep our land.
By not mentioning a specific deity, we embrace all religions, including Quakers, Druids, and Future Shop employees.
Glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard.
Wait a second. On guard kind of implies an act of aggression, when really we should be willing to sit down and discuss our differences in a civilized manner.
Oh, Canada, we stand ready to sit down and discuss our differences in a civilized manner. For
That is funny stuff.
Wow, that's ahead of its time. That was way ahead of its time. Crazy.
Yeah, that was in 2001.
Oh my gosh.
The politically correct movement, like the satirical backlash against political correctness, has been going on for a while, I think.
At least up in Canada.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the gender conversation, like the pronoun, like those things, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, was this like a couple of years ago? Like, or is that now? Like, it's so ahead of its time in terms of 2001. We weren't really thinking in some ways that we are now too. So very, very funny stuff.
So how do you classify the type of humor on Air Farce? I don't want to say that it's family-oriented political humor. Like, I don't want to make it whitewash like that. It can be edgy, like you just experienced a very edgy, pushing the boundaries bit of humor. So I think they had a pretty loose, they really did push the edges a lot and do some edgy stuff, but still the political, cultural humor at the same time. Very, very self-defacing, self-satirical humor.
I think that's the best way to describe it. And when was this usually on? Like, SNL is like at 11:30 at night. Like, they're like,
this was 7 or 8 p.m. like Saturday nights kind of stuff, right? So
yeah. And like you said, there's some edgy stuff in there, but again, like, I think that the edgier stuff is going to go over most of the little kids' heads, and it's going to be understood by the adults, and they're not like focusing hard on it. It's just in there. It's wrapped in, and kids are probably busy laughing at the other stuff to get that.
Yeah, I think it definitely had a sort of teenager, like 20-year-old plus market, you know what I mean? I don't know how many kids would have been watching, like, hey, I gotta go watch Air Farce. But that was me as a teenager watching or listening to the radio show. But yeah, it's definitely rich comedy. Like, they've got a lot of different things going on there.
Well, and it's gonna be hard to write for that, I would think. Because, as I sit and I think about it, America is very much the same, but there's a very wide cultural difference between what you have on one coast versus the other coast. And I would say the culture is as different as what you would have from Maine down to Texas. Like, that's a huge cultural difference. I think that, like, Newfoundland versus like Vancouver is going to be culturally different in terms of the jokes, but they still make that all kind of work because they're making fun of everyone equally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're equal opportunity.
Yeah, But yeah, you're right. We make fun of Newfies, we make fun of Torontonians, We make fun of Vancouver as sort of the hippy dippy drug world or whatever, the whale savers, and even like Alberta, Saskatchewan, we get classified as, the hicks or the farmers or whatever. So we have our regions that, have the different things that we get made fun of. So
it works.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, everyone loves a good Newfie joke.
So what we haven't really talked about is the song.
Right.
Understandably so, because it's only 37 seconds long. So it's hard to cover that for a whole episode. But B&L was there from episode number 1. Like that was the theme music for the TV show until 2008.
And it's a cappella. Not a cappella, but it's like totally instrumental, but it's just fun, peppy, and
they have like the scatting, it's jazz, I mean, it's essential B&L without it being like slap you across the face, this is B&L. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, it really is. I think it's a great little jazz song. I mean, it's longer, about the same length as a little tiny song.
And I like the scatting, and I like the harmonies in the scatting. Like you can really tell those voices. But there's really not a lot there.
What key is it in? That's probably about all you're going to be able to give us for a breakdown.
I have that it is in C. But it was very hard to analyze and hard to find. So because the theme song is underneath the studio audience and the intro, it was really kind of hard to nail that down. So it was like a 1 chord to a 5. It's a lot of 1s, 5s, 4s, 4 chords. So like C, G, A7, G sus4. But I'm not sure how accurate that is at all. So I can't really do too much. I couldn't find any sheet music. I couldn't find any chordal things. So I tried to do the best analysis I could. But boy, that was a toughie. So
yeah.
Does the song linger in your brain? Does it have legs?
I think it does. I used to teach a course in film and television music. In fact, I do a whole unit on Bernie Herrmann and Hitchcock and that whole relationship in Psycho, and I ripped the whole thing apart. But that's because of your incredible auspicious knowledge in that area, Tom. But I also did a lot with commercial jingles and what's effective and what's not effective, and TV theme songs. And it didn't really stick in my head. Like The Big Bang Theory sticks in your head. And possibly it's because of the lyrics, or I don't know. This one, I can't really, like, if I listened to it enough and I watched it enough, I would be able to hum it, no problem. Because I'm a huge fan of television theme songs, because some of them are really incredibly well written. And they go kind of on under the radar. But I think that, yeah, I mean, it's light. And like you said earlier, it's light, it's cute, it's simple, it's funny. Because even though there are no lyrics, I still think it's funny. But it's very, very simple. So I'm not sure I can hum it. But if I grew up with it, oh, heck yeah, I could hum it.
You said simple, and I think I disagree with that. I would say, and I know you're the music person, but
you can still disagree.
To me, it doesn't sound simple because there's so many different things going on.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not that simple. I guess I'm thinking because there are no lyrics, but it still definitely has a lot of other really interesting things musically. So,
like, as I was listening to, you can hear all the different instruments, and they're all doing something interesting in the background. Like, I would have loved if B&L had been like, you know what, let's make this a full-length song and add lyrics and do something with it. Like, I'd be all over that.
And again, 1960s, 1970s American TV, the intro was 2.5 minutes. Like it was a song, right? Like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, that's right.
The Jeffersons theme, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, and you listened to the song and you could sing along, kind of thing. But more modern days, like you get TV shows with 5-second musical openings. And it's all about brevity because now it's all about boom. They don't want to lose the viewer that watched the end of the sitcom that ended at 8 p.m. They have to pull you right into the next 20 seconds later. They need to hook you on the next sitcom. So they can't waste any time with a opening. But this is that kind of style of quick, peppy, and they're not wasting any time getting you into the show.
Well, and it's interesting, like so many people, I was reading online, like some of the quotes and the comments underneath, and they're like, this brings me back from my childhood. Like this theme, like reminds me of all these times from my childhood. And, I grew up with Scooby-Doo and Night Court and the A-Team and Magnum P.I., like as I think of these theme songs, like the songs start coming up in my head, and it reminds me of all these great moments watching those TV shows back then. So to me, like when I hear those songs, it transports me back, and I can only imagine that that's how Canadians must feel when they hear that song as well.
And it's a gathering point. It's like you're in the kitchen doing dishes and you hear this on the TV. It's that exciting moment that you want to run and sit and watch the TV. And that's the real purpose of a good opening theme, to get you caught.
Heck yeah.
Get you hooked on watching, sitting down and enjoying the show.
Yep.
Get you hyped.
And I think
it
puts you in a good mood for it too. So I think the important part of a theme song is to get you ready for the show, to get you in the right mood for the show. And as I think about it, so shows like Saturday Night Live and Second City and all these skit TV shows, like they have a hard thing because, most TV shows, like you have like Cheers or Greatest American Hero or Scooby-Doo, like they have
Can I sing all of the songs and you can see if I know them all? Because those are, I'm like, I started singing each one you just mentioned.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like it tells you the story. As the guy who created Gilligan's Island and Brady Bunch, like he was the guy who created like a big portion of TV in the 60s and 70s. And his point of view on writing a theme song was it needs to, in 1 minute, tell you enough about the show that you can take off from
Here's
whatever
the story of a lovely lady. Yeah. Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Just sit right back and we're here a tale. Like, yeah, you're right. I never really thought about that either, that they told the story. The Jeffersons told the story.
I love the Jeffersons theme.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Brilliant. I've been at whatever, like at work or at a party, and people sing the Jeffersons theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like a
think of Welcome Back Kotter. Like
it's to television what Bye Bye Miss American Pie is to rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's a fireside group song, sing along tune that everybody knows.
But the tricky part is if you have a skit show that is comedy and it's meant to be farcical, it's meant to be lampooning a number of different things. How do you write a theme song for that? And you'll find that most of these skit shows have no lyrics, but they get you in the right mood.
And is the gag or the gimmick about Air Farce so pretty much it's a ripoff of a television news broadcast? It's kind of a ripoff of a current affairs TV show. And it's like, so it kind of has to have that serious instrumental opening, and then it just goes downhill from there, right? Like it all collapses into comedy from there. But they couldn't really, they kind of are mimicking like a NBC News opening theme or something in a way.
Yeah, but a really upbeat, happy, like we're going to put you in a good mood type of thing.
Yeah.
I think from that point of view, I think it actually works better than some of the things that I would compare it to, such as like SNL's opening, which is catchy, but it doesn't put you in the right mood for SNL. This, I think, definitely would put me in the mood to see comedy.
I love SNL. I watch it every time I can, and the cold opening always gets me because it's usually political, and I'm Canadian. I don't understand American politics, so I tend to skip the cold opening. I enjoy the montage of the musical opening though, and into the monologue. Like that's really enjoyable, but it's a different thing. Yeah, it's a longer show. It's a bigger show, and it's a lot longer musical opening.
Yeah.
But it would be, like you said, it would be interesting to see Bare Naked Ladies take this theme and turn it into a pop song with lyrics, eh? Like a full-length song.
Yeah. I would love to know who the brainchild of this is. I mean, my guess is Jim and Andy. Like, it just has such a jazzy feel that it just feels like something they wrote.
Right. And I wonder, too, if the TV show producers came and said, we need an instrumental thing. We want, like, when you watch, hopefully the listeners will take them a minute to go to YouTube and watch the video and see they're introducing the performers. They're putting in iconic graphics of canoes and beavers and the Parliament building and dollar bills, right? Like they're doing all the cliche, iconic Canadian images, and they're having fun. You know, like it's interesting to watch.
Well, and the later, there were two versions of this online. One that came later in the years, and I like the beginning of that because it's very Monty Python-esque, where it's beginning something along the lines of, this following show contains the following scenes of nudity, and then you get a whole bunch of different like statues and stuff like that, and other artworks, and I'm like, yes, this is my type of humor. I'm all about this.
I must recommend for your listeners, and especially Americans that may not have seen it, the Wayne and Schuster comedy hours. Go on YouTube and watch them if you want to see classic Canadian humor. Those things are brilliant.
The other thing I wanted to kind of point out with this is I think this is a tremendous honor for BNL. The reason I wanted to make sure that we didn't just skip over it, it's a 37-second song, and we could easily have just said, no, we're not going to cover that. That's, you know, there's no lyrics at 37 seconds long. Most of us that are on this show are American. Like, what right do we have to cover this? But like this, they had to have been approached. I can't imagine that they approached CBC. So CBC approached them in 1993 to do this. BNL had only released one album officially, two if you count the yellow tape. And they were approached for this institution that had been on the radio for 20 years to write the theme song. And I just think that is amazing.
Do you think it was record label placing the band, promoting the band, getting them some exposure?
Maybe, but that's about the time that it would have been Nigel, and was it Nigel Best? I want to say it's Nigel Best. And he was, first of all, the band did not like Nigel at all. But second of all, he was, from everything written in the Public Stunts and Private Stories book, he was not a good manager. So if he had anything to do with that, then I would be astounded.
Right. Well, it could have literally been the producers of Air Farce TV were, here's a hot Canadian band, we need a popular song, and maybe they're like, we got to bring our demographic younger. You know, we want to appeal to the younger crowd. We don't want to just be adult oriented comedy. We want to appeal to the kids in the hall fans, right? We want to appeal to the college crowd. So maybe they did that deliberately as a demographic targeting.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody knew somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Possibly. And Gordon
never know how these things happen.
I mean, I undercut a little bit that Gordon had just come out, but Gordon was huge in Canada. So like that.
Gordon, are you kidding me? It's, to this day, it's pretty much their greatest hits album. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
And
I fully agree.
recently on that fan club where you found me on Facebook, we were talking about Gordon's 30th anniversary, and or is it 40th?
It would be close to 40. Yeah, it'd be 40th at the
Yeah.
No, it'd be
30th.
No, it'd be
30th.
30. I just had my 30th
And,
high school reunion. So
I was talking online with my friends about, like, my friend Jenny, where you own that CD, and we used to come over to the house and we'd all just sit around and play that CD and then play it over again. And like, it was so popular, and everybody knew where they were when they first heard it. It was a pivotal moment in pop culture in Canada.
Yeah. So I mean, that might be another reason. But
have you got your clip of If I Had $1 Million? The web clip of
So I haven't. So that's going to be the appearance for this week. Is that after the show had ended, not long after they did a couple of years ago, in 2017 or 2018 was the 150th anniversary of Canada. And they did the Air Farce 150th. And in doing so, they did but they had a number of people on that were famous and Canadian, and they did in fact have Ed come on the show. And so that's the appearance for this week. I'll play it for you guys right now. I do enjoy this. It is a very long skit to have.
If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy NASA rocket ship
with some nice fuzzy dice for the mirror. If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy a camera for the Canadarm.
Be like this really cool long selfie stick.
How about you guys? What do you got?
Well, we don't really have a guitar. Correction. You don't really have a guitar.
Can you name any other renditions or re-edits of the $1 Million song that you've heard over the years? I can't think of any.
Well, I mean, there's always If I Had $1 Million Ducats.
Right.
yeah, let's not forget that one.
And If I Had $1 Million Washes for Tide.
That's just dumb.
Sorry, I'm blanking on those both.
So If I Had $1 Million Ducats was done by, oh man, now of course I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's done by the oh my gosh, I can never say this name. No wonder I forgot it. Brobdingnagian bards. So they basically do it from a medieval point of view.
Oh, okay. Right on.
And I can never pronounce their name. And then, of course, If I Had $1 Million Washes would be what Tide paid BNL to use it for their commercial.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up. I somehow never saw that. But that's almost like a one of my favorite things that Saturday Night Live will do, where they'll be doing a skit involving a celebrity, and then they'll pull the real celebrity out onto stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have that celebrity, that cameo power. So they, that was a pretty good skit, the one you just showed, having Ed walk out and play guitar.
Yeah, I mean, most of that 150th anniversary show had a lot of callbacks to past characters that were really popular that they would just keep coming back to. So if you were a big fan of the show, then you would get a lot of those jokes.
Right. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you showed that.
He dug deep this week.
I did. So talking about a gazillion dollars, we should probably come to the rating system for this week.
Goodness gracious.
Tom, you might not be familiar with our rating system. It's going to be hard to rate this week, but we rate every song from 0 to 5. 0 is that you wish that had never been created. 5 is not only on your playlist, but if you were left with like 3 or 4 songs on the planet, those you would wish that those things never disappeared. They would have to be on your iPod on an island.
I will rate this a 4 because it's just a fun, approachable, enjoyable retro flashback.
Wow, calling up the big guns pretty early.
And we're gonna give it a rating of Bombachas.
Bombachas?
Yep. So 4 Bombachas.
Okay, 4 Bombachas.
What about you, Heidi? How many Bombachas do you?
I thought it was pretty clever and fun, and again, there are elements to it that I really like. Compared to the full catalog, I would say it's not. It's no call and answer. It's no grade 9. But let me say I will give this a 3.5. Bocce balls? What are we?
Bombachas.
Kumbachas?
Bombachas. It's Spanish for bomb.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Bombachas. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Now I know what you're talking about.
I could have gone with sonatas, but it's more fun to say bombachas.
It is a fun word. There's no question there. Hey, there's a word for that. Bombachas. Reminds me of Bomba socks. Like, I think. Maybe that's why I'm having a hard time with it.
And when it comes to, for me, when it comes down to a theme song, I like this a lot, but it's not something I'd listen to often. It wouldn't be on my playlist. So it's already a little bit below a 4 because I wouldn't have it on my playlist. But I do enjoy it, and if it came on, I definitely wouldn't turn it, and it puts me in a good mood. I'm going to give this it's also the first one they ever wrote. Like, it really broke them into writing theme songs, and they wrote a lot of theme songs over their career. I'm going to give it a 3.8.
Wow. Nice.
So your scale of 1 to 5 is really a scale of 20. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah, we break it down. I mean, we've got over 250 songs to rate, so we did have to go down to some decimal points.
That's what you learned in grade 9, baby. That's what you learned in grade 9.
I hope I learned decimal points a lot earlier than grade 9.
Yeah.
But Tom, I really enjoyed having you on tonight. Matter of fact, I got to tell you, like, you bring something that Heidi and I don't bring to this podcast. Not just that you're Canadian and have this history, but also I really just, you have this nice, deep tone naturally. That
I know. Now I want to hear you do Hitchcock. Like,
I know. Like, I like the sound of your voice.
Oh, is that? You. Oh, I see what you did there.
It's $100 digital filter.
Waking up to that, the sound of your voice there.
Yes, I could wake up to the sound of your voice.
No, what he's doing is alluding to next week's song, Tom, which is obviously the sound of your voice.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Not all of us can follow the path that Tracy lays out for us all the time, but
occasionally. Hey, you got that one quick, though.
I did. I was like, wait, where's he going? Oh. S's. Oh, snap. Okay.
And so, Tom, if other people enjoy the sound of your voice, where can they hear more
I see
of
what
you?
You did there.
Good evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast is available on all the podcatchers. We are 5 years old. We're at 85 episodes. We're doing every Hitchcock film, and we did about a dozen of the television episodes. We go chronologically. So we have dug through all the charcoal to get to the chocolate, We've gone through all the hard films, the old silent films, and we've done all the popular blockbusters now. We're on a hiatus. We're coming back shortly to wrap it up with 4 more episodes. Chris Haig is in Leeds, England. Brandon Shea Matala is here in Regina. He's our founding producer. Check it out. And if anybody's on the TikTok, my alias on TikTok is DJ Tommy 3000. And I go on and I play 80s rock music and hip hop and have a fun time on there. Come and check it out.
Awesome.
Definitely. I mean, you just hit it like deep into my heart on that one because I love 80s pop and hip hop.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And I do Coca-Cola collecting on there, and I do some other fun stuff. So yeah, check it out. TikTok's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. 1 billion users can't be wrong.
True. And I did go viral.
Oh, you had one?
I went viral for putting giant googly eyes onto an excavator in my backyard.
Oh, good for you.
To make it look like a dinosaur.
I'll have to check that out.
It was amazing.
Oh,
I shall never go viral again. I mean, once you've done it once, I mean, why even, like, what could possibly beat 2 giant googly eyes on an excavator?
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, come on. Oh, wait, what's my TikTok? I'll have to share it with you. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, I got like a lot, like millions of hits.
Good for you.
And it was all just because I was being silly in my backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, you put that into the chat, and I'm going to make sure that we put that in there. And Tom, if you put into the chat where the people can find your podcast and also your TikTok, I will make sure that is in the liner notes as well.
You bet. I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
So mine is Doc Welch 74. Everybody, if you want to see my viral excavator. Sorry, there you go. So it's Doc Welch 74.
I'll check that out.
Thank you.
Share, and follow.
Slap that like button.
It was great having you, and I encourage everyone to come back next week. It's a long week between now and then, and you know it's a big void in my life, and take it from me, there's not much to see in this void, so I look forward to talking to you guys about Sound of Your Voice next week.
You just keep it rolling. You just keep the train rolling. That was pretty impressive, actually.
Thanks very much for having me. This has been a good time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks. That was fun.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.